We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or, if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south-of-the-border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside. Or maybe you're in the mood for seafood. Big Sur Oyster Bar has fresh seafood prepared right before your eyes. Savor freshly shucked oysters, crab legs jambalaya, shrimp and lobster. Beers on tap and a selection of fine wines are perfect to pair with your seafood favorite. Whether lunch or dinner, you'll love this fun atmosphere, located just off the casino floor. Ready to shake things up? Step back in time and treat yourself to one of the oldest restaurant chains in the country. Steak and Shake, famous for original mouth-watering steak burgers and hand-dipped milkshakes in a variety of flavors. For some old-fashioned fun, try Steak and Shake.
Good morning, sports fans, sports bettors. Welcome in. This is Sports by the Book here at the South Point studio. I'm Alex White. Alongside Kenny White, we'll be with you for a full hour. We'll get through as much of today's action as we can, see if there's any value plays that we like. And second half hour, we will have a very special guest in studio, Curtis Terry. The commentary color voice of the Rebels will be joining us here at the desk to talk some NBA and some college basketball. We're going to get your reaction on the college football playoff projections that came out yesterday. There were a couple moves. Curious if you are happy about that, because you have not been happy about where BYU sat. So we'll get to that. But first, we started something new yesterday, and it was a success. Our whiteboards, where we put down our 3 top plays throughout the show, and then we showed them at the end of the show. Did very well yesterday. I was 2-1. My over for Marquette and Purdue did not get there. You said Purdue may have a letdown, and they did. But my other 2 were a winner. How'd you do yesterday?
Good morning, Alex. Glad to be here on a Tuesday. Oh, on a Wednesday. Wait a minute.
Wednesday.
On a Wednesday after a good Tuesday. It's such a roller coaster ride in sports, because my Monday was horrendous. And then my Tuesday was perfect. And thanks to you, you talked me into Winnipeg and NHL. So I put in 3 plays. Miami of Ohio in Maction.
Yep.
The Cleveland Cavaliers, the undefeated Cavaliers, no longer undefeated, against the Celtics plus 5.5. What a run they made. They fell behind by 21 and made a huge run to make it a game, and held on and stayed close and covered the game. And then the dog of the day, on Punchlines with Frank Nicotero, the Nuggets plus 4, easy winner, straight up winner, playing a good team. And I love these games, these tournament games. That's why I handicapped the NBA last year. Once the tournament's over, I could probably care less about the league.
Until we get to the playoffs.
Until we get to the playoffs,
some bets we can do there. Yeah, good hockey day. Winnipeg, you had them over Florida. We talked about that one because Florida had just won 5-0 on Saturday. Winnipeg with the revenge spot, 6-3 over the defending champions there in the Panthers. I had the Rangers at plus 130 in regulation. Man, if you took that with me, you had to sweat that out, because it was 2-2 after the first, 3-3 after the second. I'm like, they're just dying to go to overtime here. But the Rangers scored in the third and held them scoreless there. We also like the under in Anaheim, Chicago, but I talked us out of it because Anaheim was on a back-to-back night. That one was 3-2 final, so would have got there as well. But Maction, we did have an upset. Central Michigan won that game over Western Michigan. Akron Kent State is still winless for the year. They won 38-17. And then Miami, Ohio, 20-9 over Northern Illinois. And that was my third play with that under 42.5. So 2 more games tonight in Maction. We will get to those. We'll also get to more NBA and hockey. But I want to start with college football and our rankings here that they released yesterday. So as we know, what they are doing is the top-ranked conference champions, the 4 top-ranked conference champions will get a bye. So they don't have to be in the Power 4. It can be from the group of 5. It depends on the ranking. So as of right now, Boise State is ranked 12th in the country. If they were to win out and win the Mountain West, they will be the top-ranked 4th to get a bye. So right now, Oregon, they're projecting them to win the Big Ten there. So they are sitting at number 1 with the bye. Miami still projected to win the ACC. They will get a bye. Texas, SEC, and then we have Boise State would get the 4th bye. So that means that the Big 12, a little disrespected here, they are not in that top ranking. We don't even know who is. I guess Colorado is kind of the projected team now. Is that right? BYU still projected to win it. Okay. But Colorado kind of has a better % chance of getting in now. So here's our matchups that we have as of right now. If the season ended, BYU, Ohio State would play. Winner would play Boise State. Alabama, Notre Dame to play Oregon. Georgia, Penn State to play Miami. Ole Miss, Indiana to play Texas. So still 3 teams there. No, 4 teams, right? From the Big Ten with Ohio State, Penn State, Indiana, and Oregon. Yeah. So does that look better?
Good teams. Yeah, that does look better. And there's going to be a lot of changes to that. I'm not sure if Oregon will be the team that comes out, and I don't think Miami will. I think that Dabo Swinney will outcoach Mario Cristobal and beat out Miami. And if that happens, then you may end up getting a Big 12 team into a bye slot. So very interesting. I'm glad they've made
that is interesting.
Options. They made options for this that now you're telling me that Boise State could be in and get a bye. That's good. If Boise State runs the table.
They'll be a 1-loss team with just their only loss coming to Oregon. So that would be
yeah, they'd be a 1-loss team.
Impressive.
Right. And that was a game they could have won that game. They impressed me that night. I don't think Oregon was playing their best football at that time of the year. And early in the year, if you can run the ball, it's going to help because it's much easier to work on your run game than it is your passing game. Or I should say your running game comes around a lot faster than your passing game comes around. And Boise State's got the best running back in college football, and they got behind him, and he made big play after big play against Oregon's defense. And he's the Heisman Trophy winner as far as I'm concerned, other than Colorado's guy.
Travis Hunter.
Those 2 guys, wow. I feel like that should be even though you don't select running backs that high in the NFL draft, I feel like Travis Hunter's got to go number 1 and Gentie's got to go in the top 10.
Yeah. That's interesting. I haven't really looked at the projection and where they think Gentie will go. I guess because there are a lot of quarterbacks in this class that are being projected to be drafted pretty high. So that was what I was focusing on. But interesting that you bring up Clemson and Miami because we still have SMU who is playing really good. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in that conference moving forward. And as well with Colorado and Arizona State both playing very good football, and they will play each other this weekend. So there it is. That is the updated 12-team playoff projections for college football. Let's get to some more college football because we do have 2 MAC games. And for the first time, even though it is November 20th, really these games should be impacted by weather. And you saw a big drop in the total, especially in this first game, Ohio at Toledo. So this total has dropped down. Now I'm curious if you think it is still bettable. 45.5 here at the South Point, and Toledo 1.5 point favorite. So let's break down this MAC game and give our take. Both teams are coming in with a winning record. Ohio 7-3, Toledo 7-3 as well. Toledo 5-5 against the spread, and Ohio 6-4. So let's start with the total and the wind and how this total has moved around this week.
Yeah, and this is a great game, and pretty interesting similarities in the two head coaches, that both were longtime assistants and offensive coordinators at their school before they got the job. Tim Albin for Ohio, 17 years as the assistant at Ohio U, and he's taken over. He is now in his fourth year, and he's 30-19. It's been a great program over the years, so he took over a good program. And again, I say don't get too excited till you see a coach 5 years, and is he still going in the right direction? But Albin looks like he knows what he's doing. He's been a spread cover coach. He is 6-4 ATS this year. He was 20-18 coming into the year, so he covers spreads. Now, Toledo, Jason Candle, 7 years as an assistant at Toledo before he got the job, and he's done a very good job at Toledo and added great stability to this program. I think he came in as an assistant right after a lot of the Toledo point shaving scandal stuff, so they needed someone to right the ship, and Candle's been there for them for 16 years as an assistant and now head coach for 9 years. But revenge factor is in this game. Ohio U lost the conference championship game in 2022. They didn't play last year. These two teams met up. They were the best two teams in the conference in 2022, and Toledo won that game 17-3. They dominated. That was in Detroit, played indoors. Great weather, but obviously the defenses had a big day. In 2021, they played at Ohio, and Toledo beat Ohio then. So Tim Albin, 0-2 versus Jason Candle. Lost at home and lost in a conference championship game. Got to believe this game's been circled on the calendar. But I've got Toledo rated higher, and that's my problem with this game. I had them 4.5 points better, but that revenge factor, kind of a double revenge factor, you very rarely get that type of revenge factor in betting, and I love those situations. I've watched these two teams play. My eyeball test says Ohio U is going to win this game. And the wind is going to be a huge factor. 25 to 35 mile an hour winds from sideline to sideline. It is going to affect play. And who will it affect more? The team that runs it the least. Well, Ohio U runs it 62% of the time. That's what they do. They run the football. That's their bread and butter. So the wind, I think, helps Ohio U in the game as well. So I did bet a college teaser. Chris, Vinny, Jimmy, bet a college teaser. So that, it's one thing that guys didn't want anybody to know, that the books hold a high percentage on college teasers. So I took Ohio U plus 7.5 and went under 52 for a 1% bet. And I bet a 2% play under 46 because of that wind.
So, yeah, it was a running joke because on one of the shows, I believe it was Vinny that said, don't bet college teasers. You don't want to do that. And Chris goes, shh, don't tell him. So that was the running joke there with college teasers. But Sean, did you hear that? This is a one-time only college teaser. But so you bring up a good point with the wind and Ohio running 60% of the time. That's really going to impact Toledo, and they have a very good quarterback here with Tucker Gleason. He's had a really good year, 7.4 yards per attempt, 19-7 ratio. So that's going to take some of that out. But he is a running quarterback as well, right? Dual threat guy, 268 rushing yards on the year and 6 rushing touchdowns. So they can lean on him, but I'm sure Ohio's defense will be prepared and ready for that as well.
Yeah, I think so. And as I said, I had Toledo rated higher. However, the performance ratings on the year, and that's why I'm saying kind of eyeball test what I've seen. Ohio has been a 100.5, and Toledo has been a 98.5. So I have a 2-point difference to Ohio U in this game on the performance rating, and that's why I like them. But I didn't bet them straight because I didn't really want to go against my number, but I felt it was a correlated teaser to the dog and the under.
So are you okay with that under here? So I actually made Toledo even higher than you did, and I saw your number, and mine's even higher for the home team. I don't have a good feel for this Ohio team, though, but I did make the total 51, and that is before the win factor. You said take off a full touchdown at least.
I took off 10 off mine, and I still only made it 42.5 because I had it 52.5. But when I look at these two defenses, they're both very, very good. On median, Ohio's allowed 18 points a game and Toledo's allowed 22 points a game. So the defenses are there, and it's such a big game. Obviously, the last time they played was for a conference championship. They don't like each other. I think it's going to be a really tough battle, and that wind is going to make it more of a dull football game.
I like it. I think that is going to be added to my list with taking 10 off. Then I'm at 41. I think I'm going with the under there on my list. We got to get your blue marker.
Just about a marker here.
We will get that for you. Let's go to the second game on the board with Buffalo at Eastern Michigan. Buffalo 6-4 straight up, 5-5 against the spread, 6-3-1 to the over. They are actually on a pretty crazy over streak here, 6 in a row. Eastern Michigan on the other side, 5-5 straight up, 7-3 against the spread, and 5-5 with totals. Eastern Michigan lane 1 at home, total 51 in this MAC game.
So you're always trying to, like I say, power ratings are 75% of the equation when you're handicapping. 25% is the science behind it. And a lot of that science behind it, a lot of times that's, if you don't have power ratings, you're using 100% of that. The eyeball test, the science behind
it.
The
letdown, the look ahead.
The letdown, look aheads, and all of that. And I think there's a letdown here. I was big on Buffalo last week. We laid the 4. I went against my process. I didn't make the game that high. I should have never bet it. But I love when a coach is going against an old team that he was fired from. And Pete Lembo was fired at Ball State. And he's a really good football coach. I watched him coach earlier this year, and that's when I looked him up again and double-checked. And, wow, I really like this guy. He's fiery. He's a really good recruiter. He's an X's and O coach. And I think he's going to do a really good job at Buffalo. And he was going against his old team last week, Ball State. And I know how the coaching game works. Pete Lembo never said a word to his players about playing against his old team, but his coordinators all did. All the position coaches did. Hey, Coach Lembo was fired by Ball State. He wants this game badly. And all the players knew it. All the players were fired up. It was a big-time game. 45-45. They had to come from behind late in the game to score to tie it, go to overtime. They win it, celebrate like it's the Super Bowl. They get their 6th win. They're bowl eligible. It's a huge party in Buffalo. And now they got to wake up the next day and go to Eastern Michigan, because I feel like a week is a day for them because it was such a long week probably. And Eastern Michigan's 5-5. They need a win for bowl eligibility. I just think it's a huge, huge letdown for Buffalo here.
Both quarterbacks are dual threat guys as well. That's funny. It's a kind of a MAC thing here, which you talked about them having really good talent. So let's start with Cole Snyder for Eastern Michigan. His numbers on the year: completing 60% of his passes, 6.4 yards per attempt, 12 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 4 rushing touchdowns, and 297 rushing yards. And then on the other side, do you have CJ? Agbanya?
Yeah,
CJ completed 56% of his passes, very close, 6.7 yards per attempt, 13-4 ratio, so that's good, taking care of the ball, 220 rushing yards, and 6 rushing touchdowns for him.
Yep, these two, quarterbacks have done well. I have Eastern Michigan 4 points better. Small home field, 2 points. So I made the game 6. And there is revenge factor. Buffalo lost last year at home 24-11. I don't even know if they can remember that now after beating Ball State and becoming bowl eligible. I really don't. So they're 4-2 in the conference, so that maybe they have a shot at the conference. Is Pete Lembo a great coach that he's going to be able to get his team to forget about last week's win and be focused up to play this game? Maybe. We'll see. So it's not a big bet for me. 1%, I laid 1 on Eastern Michigan. But it is very windy there tonight as well in Ypsilanti. 20 to 30 mile an hour winds, sideline to sideline. It's going to affect the passing game for both quarterbacks. Both these teams are not afraid to run the ball. Buffalo 59%, Eastern Michigan 54%. They're going to need to run it a lot tonight, and I think that leads to an under. So I only took 7 points off this total. I had it 48.5. Now it's 41.5. I went under 51, 2%.
Okay, I do like Eastern Michigan as well. I do have them 5 here. Well, 4.5, my number at home versus Buffalo. And I really like that science of trying to get to a bowl game. So this team is 5-5. I think that is one part that you did leave out with the letdown. That was to get bowl eligible as well for Buffalo last week in that big win, or I just missed it. But yeah, so they now have 6 wins. Eastern Michigan here trying to get their 6th win of the season.
No, they cost us. We bet on them. We don't want to get caught in the switches, but we're we take those chances every once in a while that we do. So we were on Buffalo last week. Now we're against them. Hopefully we can pull out the win.
Well, and I feel bad, but my numbers did say it for Buffalo last week. So I had an actual difference in the number to bet on too. So now if I make Eastern Michigan that much better than Buffalo, that's an okay spot to be in. I adjusted.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe you over-adjusted, though. That's the scary part. So
True. I'll have to look back at that.
But again, we're not making a gigantic bet that's going to make a difference in your life. You're managing your money correctly, and you're making a bet that, hey, that's right, I got to bet on that game. Let me see what's going on. Not like, all right, it's 4:00. I got to sit in front of the TV because all my money in my life's on this game tonight.
My car payment. Yeah. Okay, let's go. We're going to stick with college football. And usually we wait till about 9:30 and we switch it over from today's action. But I want to hit today's request for this weekend. We have two really good games that were requested by our friend Dean Hilt, who's always in the chat watching us here. So we're going to start with the big game here. Indiana, undefeated, going to Ohio State. So Oregon is already locked into the Big Ten championship game here. I think it comes down to these two. We'll have to see, though, if Indiana wins. But Ohio State has the win over Penn State. So I believe it does come down to this. I think Indiana can be in it as long as they finish out the year. 10-0, 8-2 against the spread. We all know that the first game, depending on the number, if they covered, did not cover their last game against Michigan. Ohio State 9-1 straight up, 5-5 against the spread. Let's break down this game. We have Will Howard on one side for the home team in Ohio State, and we have Curtis Rourke, who's been very good for the Hoosiers. I made Ohio State a little bit bigger than what the number is out there, and right now at the South Point, it is moving in that direction. Ohio State, 13 points at home, and the total 52.
Yeah, I have it higher as well, Alex. But again, this is something even after 40 years of being in this business and betting, I've never used a win streak to adjust lines in college football because I'm adjusting their power ratings from week to week. But I love to use those streaks in baseball and should be using in other sports. So Indiana was on a huge ATS run, 8 in a row, but they did not cover against Michigan. They could have been looking ahead to Ohio State. And Indiana does have the extra week to prepare for this game. This is a team playing with a ton of confidence, and they got a very good head coach. So is Ryan Day, though, for Ohio State. But is there something there, a 10-game winning streak? Like I said, if I would have done that later in the season against Nebraska, Washington, Michigan State, and Michigan, I could have been profitable betting Indiana games. And I really like this football team. When I handicapped them in the summertime, I knew they were going to be good. They already had really good players, and Signetti brought in some really good players from James Madison. That's how good they were at James Madison, because they're still good even with those losses. But this is Ohio State. I mean, look at the performance rating, though.
Right.
A 118.5 to a 126. I really don't want to lay the points with Ohio State. Again, I don't like betting favorites as it is, but maybe I should. It's 10-game winning streak. Like I said, maybe it's a half a point for every win, so it'd be 5 points off the line. Maybe I should be making Ohio State like 14 in this game. I'm right where the line is, but I think Ohio State wins the game, and that's all they want to do. They just want to win the game.
So this year, Ohio State brings in Chip Kelly to run the offense, and we have seen a big difference for Ryan Day and what they've been able to do offensively. Indiana, I watched that game against Michigan State and then Michigan too. I mean, they are very efficient offensively as well. What about this total? It's already pretty high for a big game like this, but 52, where's your number on the total? I made it 56.
I made it 60.5, but again, you'll have to check weather for Saturday to make sure that it's not windy, and that's such a big stadium. The wind will swirl there. So that would affect the passing game for both quarterbacks. And you got two very accurate quarterbacks that they've combined to complete 73% of their passes. They combined to throw for 10 yards a pass.
Wow.
They've combined for 45 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. We've got two of the best quarterbacks in the country going head-to-head here, and when one team scores, the other team's going to need to score. And I think it's a very, very solid overplay for me. The defenses have been great, though. Median score, Indiana, 42-14. Ohio State, 36.5-7. Just two great defenses.
Yep.
But Ohio State's talent, it's far better than what Indiana has. Now, Indiana's got some really good players, but overall, Ohio State, when you're talking about their entire class and their entire roster, they probably have 25 NFL players on it. Indiana probably has 8. It's a different, they've got so much more depth, and they're playing at home. Again, the number's so big, though, and I don't want to lay the points, though, for sure. I don't want to lay. This is going to be a great game, but I'm going to bet it over because these two quarterbacks, as long as it's not windy.
Where did this number open this total? So we know if we should jump in now at 52 or if it'll come down a little bit, because I could see bettors thinking it's such a big game and automatically taking that under.
Circa opened 54.5. And let me look in real quick. South Point, where the South Point opened this game. Game 160. South Point opened 52 and has held steady at 52. It's down to 51 now at Circa. So I guess they're kind of expecting, the defenses to, play the way they've been playing. Those defenses have been amazing. I will say this. Let's look at who Indiana's played. This is such a big game.
Yeah.
Weather's horrendous in Columbus tonight, but they're not playing tonight. So windy and rainy because that's that area, and that's our Maction games where we're going under in both those games because of that fact. But for Saturday, 47 degrees, cloudy, and winds 10 to 15. Just should be a beautiful football weather day in Columbus, Ohio. All right, Indiana. Florida International, well below average team. Western Illinois, one of the worst teams in all of college football. They beat them 77-3. They're like a high school team. They beat UCLA, who's rebuilding with a new head coach. They beat Charlotte, another below average team with a terrible football coach who's now no longer there. Maryland they beat 42-28. That was the best team they had played this year, and it was their best game they played because they lost the turnover battle by 4 and still won the game. Then they beat Northwestern, another team, average college football team, at home against Nebraska, 56-7. That was impressive to beat a really good team, and it was the best team they played the entire year, but they did win the turnover battle by 4. The next week, they beat Washington at home by 14. They won the turnover battle by 1. Michigan State, and then Michigan. So here's the power ratings of the teams, the last 4 teams: 114, 113, 109, 113. Now they're playing a 130.
Yep.
They're playing a team that's 2 touchdowns better than anybody they've seen before. What is Ohio State seen this year? They played Oregon. They lost by 1. They've seen Nebraska, and they've seen Penn State. So they've played 2 teams that are better than Indiana. It's going to be a good game. I think the over is the safe play. I think it's going to be 2 quarterbacks that score. Now, like any heavyweight fight, it could start slow.
Right.
I would suggest maybe waiting and betting in game if we get it. You could get a 0-0 first quarter and end up then going over 41 in the game.
I am glad that I do have my power score or performance score this year as well, because looking at their medians, and just to keep me off. So I made Ohio State 15.5 here at home versus Indiana, but looking at their power scores, I told you Ohio State is tied with Texas for my top throughout the year at a 132, and looking at Indiana, I have them at a 122. Now that is also impacted with the talent that they have played and the margin that they won at. So it could be a little bit high and inflated because of their strength of schedule, but that's 10 right there, 13. So I'm with you. I'm going to stay off that side there, not lay the points, even though I do lean to the favorite. I do think they could win by 2 touchdowns, but I'll be looking at an overplay, trying to get the best number. So whether I jump in at 51, maybe a small bet, and then wait in game and try and get a better number, but I'm with you on that over.
And, we'll say this, hip, hip, hooray for Kurt Ziganetti. Normally a guy 63 years old doesn't get a job like this, but he did such a great job at James Madison. And at 63 years old, in his first year, he's got his team 10-0. That's quite an amazing feat for Curt Ciganetti.
And they like him. They like playing for him. They bought in. It's awesome. It's really good to see for Indiana. There's also a crazy record on how long it has been since Indiana has beat Ohio State. I believe it is the longest.
There's another thing as a revenge factor too that I forgot to factor in. I mean, I think I should take 5 points off for the winning streak, but you're taking another 2.5 for sure for revenge. You know, I'm down to 14, 11.5, take off my 20% off a favorite, and I'm down to 9 in this game. I'm actually leaning towards taking Indiana now. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, but with you saying that now I have a question. If you take 5 cents or add 5 cents for baseball, right, for every win, so 10 wins in a row is 50 cents. If you add that to the money line, then what is that to the point spread?
I'd have to look at my money.
This is a very complicated question,
right.
but
you're getting to a point now where, you're in the right direction. There's no doubt about it. I can Google.
Okay, well we can
search my money line charts, but
we'll do that on our break. We'll take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to talk about USC and UCLA. That's the last college football game.
Can we move that to Friday?
We're going to move USC and UCLA to Friday.
Because I'll be on Friday. I promise I'll do that game on Friday because I know we have Curtis Terry. Is he going to be in?
Yes. So we'll move that to Friday. USC, UCLA, rotation number 213, 214. Big game for these two. Now, USC needs this win to get bowl eligible, and UCLA needs to win out. Win their last two. They only have 4 wins on the year. But cover that on Friday. Right now, USC is a 4.5-point favorite on the road, and the total 51.5, unless that's moved a little bit there. But when we get back, we'll talk NHL. And then when Curtis Terry joins us, we'll talk some NBA and some college basketball. Don't go anywhere. This is Sports by the Book. We'll be right back.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day. The friendly ticket writers are happy to help, and it's conveniently located next to the famous Del Mar Deli, where you'll find supersized portions of delicious deli items like roast beef, pastrami, and Reuben sandwiches, or soups, salads, and pizza. Plus spectacular desserts fit for a king. And right next door is the race book. Over 150 seats, each with its own TV screen. There are 16 interactive player terminals, so you can bet right from your seat.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Sports by the Book. Please make sure and like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We appreciate everybody that is in here. If you subscribe right now and you can't see the live chat, wait about 5 minutes and you will be able to jump in there. Appreciate everybody who is in here. Vince, Not Sean, Nick S., Dean Hilt, and we're waiting for JR. Is that everybody in there so far, Vince? He'll be there, I'm sure. But so a couple things in the chat that I am seeing now. Nick said Tankathon has Genty going 11th to the Bengals as of right now. And Dean Hilt wants to know does analytics affect your betting?
Analytics.
Does that mean like coaches using the analytics and when they're calling a game, or do you mean our analytics?
Probably coaches and using the analytics. We get so many crazy things. I as a coach myself, I stick to the analytics, and I think it's a big part of it. You have to, like in baseball, I'm big lefty on lefty, righty on righty if you can, and in football, there's all kinds of different analytics with when to run, when to pass, when to go for two, when to kick the field goal, when to punt, and stuff like that. So I think coaches should use that. I think it definitely should be part of their formula. Like it's part of my formula for handicapping. 75% is the power ratings, 25% is the feel for it, kind of like the analytics of the game. So coaching should be the same way. You have to have a feel as well.
Okay, there we go. Hopefully that answers your question, Dean Hilt. Okay, before we get to our cast, let's talk a little bit of hockey, and then we're going to talk NBA and college with him. I do want to ask you, though, there is a big college basketball game on the board. Do you have your Alabama and Illinois number?
Yeah, I do. Really good game. I like it over. I think it'll be up-tempo. Alabama loves to run. Got Alabama 2. This is a neutral court game.
Yes, it is. So right now here at South Point, 8.5 for Alabama and 166.5.
Well, Underwood, the head coach for Illinois, is a really good basketball coach. And, he has changed his coaching philosophy over the years, and he is a great recruiter. And he's a great X's and O guy. I think he's going to be able to compete in this game. Alabama comes off the upset from Purdue. Where's my main sheet here? Alabama, 2. I like the dog and I like it over. 2 really up-tempo teams. The Illini 51st right now in the country in pace. Alabama number 13 in pace. One of the fastest games this year when you compare the two teams playing head-to-head.
So Illinois last year was one of the top offensive teams, right? I remember them going head-to-head with Iowa State, who was all defense. Illinois was all offense. Now we are seeing them improve their defense a little bit, but they haven't really played any tough opponents yet. So I guess we'll see how that pans out tonight against a good team like Alabama. So leaning to the points of the dog, and you like the over in that big matchup.
And just watching, you want to watch Mark Sears, one of the best players in the entire country. He is so much fun to watch. Great player, can get to the rim, hits his free throws, three-point shooter, outstanding passer, and a solid defensive player too. And Nate Oates has done so much for the Alabama program. He's just done such a great job, as Brett Underwood has as well with the Illini. So I think this is 2 head coaches that have talented rosters going head-to-head here, and it's going to be a fun game to watch.
Mark Sears, Grant Nelson. So they do bring back quite a few players from that team that made a big run last year in Alabama. Let's quickly run through hockey. There's not too many games on the board. I do have my numbers. I don't remember circling any plays that I absolutely... Oh, I do. Okay, I wrote a couple notes down here. 5 games in hockey. We've got VGK going to Toronto. And as we know, Vegas has struggled on the road. They did have 2 good road wins before they did lose at home and start this road trip. So this is, I believe, 5 games they have for this road trip, VGK. So what is the number out there right now?
Right now, South Point, the Maple Leafs 115, the Knights 105, total 6 over 15.
So I do have Toronto minus 150 at home, and that total 6 over minus 135.
So you definitely have a play on Toronto in that game tonight.
Play on the Maple Leafs.
They are going with their backup Stellaris, right?
Yes.
He's kind of the number 1 guy right now, but
yeah, while Joseph Wall is kind of been in and out. So yeah, that would be a little bit of a adjustment there, I would say. But Toronto has won 5 of their last 6, and this is the first game of a 5-game road trip. Okay, Canes and Flyers. I made Carolina minus 230 and the total 6.
That's what you're looking at pretty much in the market right now. 230 here at the South Point, plus 195 and 6 under 15.
Okay, I do have it 6 under minus 125. Are you sure? Is there some 6 overs? Would that be worth That be a big enough difference?
There are 6 overs. There's even a 6 over 15.
And
and here at the South Point, you're right. 6.5 under was bet down to 6 under 15 here at the South Point.
Yeah, I like it because you can get even money there. That's a little bit of a difference there. I have Dallas minus $3 and the total 5.65, which is 5.5 over minus 120.
San Jose's been a little more competitive as of late, and I think taking a goal and a half with them is not a bad bet when you're getting a plus price. You're looking right here at the South Point. Dallas minus 450 plus 350 on San Jose, total of 6.5.
Ottinger will be in net or is projected for Dallas, so that is their number one goalie there. But you're right. I mean, the Sharks they did beat the Red Wings. So they are turning things around. So 1.5, I don't mind that since I did only make it $3. Here's some home revenge for you. I wrote this down. Kraken won in Nashville, October 15th. They won 7-3. Now we have the Predators going to Seattle. Let's see what I made it here, though. I made Nashville minus 105 and the total 6.
Is that with your revenge factor built in?
That is no revenge built in.
Okay, so you'd at least 25 cents there, and you make it $1.30. You're right on the betting line here at the South Point, $1.30 on Nashville plus a dime, 5.5 over 15.
So nothing, can't jump in there now that it is 140. Did open minus 135. Okay, last but not least, the Kings. I have the minus 140 and the total 6 over minus 120.
And the Kings $1.45, take back 125, the total of 6. I don't think a lot there.
I've got over minus 120. Could we go with
so you have 6 over 120?
Yep.
You're laying a dime. It's a 10-cent difference.
Even money here?
Not right now. 6 flat.
All right. Well, so nothing really there. A little bit of a lean to the under in the Carolina and the Flyers game and over in Buffalo and Kings. But we're not even going to take a break if that's okay, Sean, because they already got the cameras ready. So we're going to bring in our guest, voice of the Runnin' Rebels with Matt Neverett, and also has a podcast on commentary, Mr. Curtis Terry. How are you doing, CT?
Good, Alex. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you for joining us. You have a game tonight, right?
Yes, the Runnin' Rebels play Pepperdine at 7 o'clock.
Okay, and this is, how many home games have they had in a row now? Because it's been quite a few.
This will be game 4. They start with a 5-game homestand. The next week they go to Phoenix for a tournament over Thanksgiving.
Tournament over.
Then you got the rodeo schedule. That's
right.
A pleasure to have you on set. Obviously, I grew up here in Vegas, and I've had 3 favorite eras with 2 with Tarkanian in the 70s and the real Running Rebels with Eddie Owens and Glenn Gondrzak and Robert Smith and Tony Smith, and that team was amazing. And then you have the championship team with Johnson and Ogman and Anthony and that group. But then Lon Kruger really turned the program around, and that's where you came in. You came in, I think, with Lon, and your teams grew and went from a good basketball team to really great teams that made runs in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Obviously, back in the day with Coach Tarkanian, those were the glory days around here for Vegas and for college basketball in general. But then when Coach Kruger came in 2004, I had the luxury and the benefit and the privilege to play for him. And the first 2 years a little rocky, but then we went to back-to-back conference tournament championship games, won that, and kind of started some tournament success, not just for us, but for Lon and then the program. And then Coach Rice came in. So, yeah, we kind of got Runnin' Rebel basketball back on the map. And I think the new Coach Kruger, Kevin Kruger, is in a position to try to replicate some of that success himself.
And Lon's still really part of the program, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Lon's one of those lifers, right? Like he'll never leave. But he's at practice typically every day. And so for me, it's nice to sit with Coach and talk hoops and just to hear some of that knowledge that he still has for the game.
And was it your last year? I believe it was 07, the Sweet 16 run?
No, 08. So 07 was the year when Kevin transferred in from Arizona State.
Okay.
And we returned 4 starters and Wink Adams and the whole lot, and we went to the Sweet 16. And then the next year, 2007-2008 season, we lost in the second round to Kansas, who was then the eventual national champion because Derrick Rose missed free throws. So
some great times. I tell you that Lon Kruger was one of my favorite coaches, and it was so nice when he came in because I know that we went through a list of guys after Tark left with Raleigh Massimino, and he won a national championship at Villanova, but he had no idea what he was doing. And then Billy Bano, I never saw a coach that coached every single play down court. Every play he was yelling at the players to do something. Max Good had 1 year. Spoonhour, when he came in, I thought that was a great hire, but I think he was kind of at the end of his career, and Lon finally turned the program around again. And you were one of my guys that I loved watching play, and you had a career that you went from starter to six-man, back to starter again, and you were like a do-it-all type of player. Your athleticism, your length on the court, and I love the way you played. I remember watching you so much, and Wink Adams was one of my favorite players as well. So that was a really fun time watching that team play.
For sure. No, again, thank you. I can let you stroke my eagle all day. I'm not going to stop you. But no, those were really good times, and just to have the privilege and to play under Coach Kruger and to play with the guys that I did play with, and for us to be able to try to reset the program, especially with the high expectations in Las Vegas for what running Rebel basketball was. There was a lot of pressure, but once we got there, we really just to enjoy it and kind of just relish in it and to see where that program was to where we got it back to after 15 years of not having a conference or having a tournament game win. Then to be able to do it a couple years in a row was really fun. And for me, and Alex knows, bleed scarlet and gray will always be a Rebel, and forever indebted to the community, to UNLV, and just the Run Rebel program.
As a basketball guy, LeBron or Michael?
Michael Jordan all day.
But how impressive is it what LeBron is doing right now at his age?
It's amazing. Obviously, it's a different era and generation, right? I think for me, growing up and watching MJ and what he did in terms of winning back-to-back twice, and doing that and just seeing what a basketball was, and just the level of competitiveness and how you could really be physical in the game. And now, obviously, the game has changed and shifted, which is great. And you can't take anything away from LeBron. But records are meant to be broken. Stats are gonna change and be impacted by the flow of the game and the pace. But what LeBron's doing right now is remarkable. Obviously, at his age, and I hate to say it, we're the same age. But what he's doing on the court and just longevity and keeping his body healthy, clearly he deserves the title. But I think that's just depending on the day of the week, you can try to make that debate, and it's really kind of a generational thing or an era thing, if anything.
I think two players changed the game. Michael definitely changed the game. The other guy, I think, is Steph Curry.
Yeah.
This young, skinny kid comes in and can shoot coming off the bus. People never saw anything like that in their lives, that a kid could shoot the three, because back in the day, coaches didn't want you to you got the layup, take the layup, don't take the three. Right. No. Now it's completely opposite. Kick it out to shoot the three.
It's wild. And you guys were just talking about like pace of play and tempo. And back in the day, you want to use as much clock as you can. It was typically you want to work it inside out, explore all your options, and three-pointers they were kind of taboo back then, I guess, if anything. And now, you want to get the ball down the court. Mike D'Antoni, 7 seconds or less offense, try to get it down, get threes up. Threes worth more than two. Fast shots, more possessions, more chances to score points. And so those things are great. But it's just, again, it's a generational thing. I prefer having a little bit of physical defense where you can touch the guy, as opposed to if you bat an eyelash at him, it's a foul. But what Steph Curry did in changing the game, and even James Harden, just in the way to be able to guys play off the bounce and off the dribble, it's pretty remarkable. And it just goes to show how things in life and evolution, not just with sports, but in life in general.
I want to shift to women's game.
Oh, yeah.
Lindy LaRocque.
Yeah.
What does she mean to the game?
She's a rock star, especially with Lindy being a local one, and what she did at Durango and going to Stanford and playing for Coach Tara Vanderveer, and then having the chance to work at Oklahoma and Stanford and to come back here. And she's just what we needed. And I think just kind of like similar to Kevin, to have someone that's been around the program, that's been in Las Vegas, that knows how the city operates. And Lindy's a winner. She played 4 Final Fours at Stanford. So clearly she knows what she's doing. And she's got the Lady Rebels on the right track. And hopefully they can continue the success. And my fear, and I don't even want to put out the universe, but I fear that we don't lose her to some big program trying to come in and swoop her up. But I think it's going to be hard to do because she's a Vegas girl through and through.
34 years old too.
Yeah.
Amazing what she's done at such a young age. She could have been a brain surgeon or a rocket scientist. She got all of it. The looks, the brains, the athleticism, amazing. And hopefully with the roots in here in Vegas, born and raised, hopefully she will stay, because she could build this into, I would say, Gonzaga. That Vegas is in the top 5 year in and year out. She's that good.
Yeah, and I think it's what we have at Vegas with all the athletic programs. It's kind of flies under the radar. But you talk about the facilities and the support you get from the community with people here who are blue collar and they work in the industries on the Strip and the casinos. But these people spend their money to see quality competitive teams. And I think with Kevin, with Lindy, with Coach Odom, what he's doing with football and all the other sports on campus, you can really create something special. But again, now in college athletics, you fear that people getting swooped up because the big money comes in.
And Lindy started in 2020, right? She came in like at a rough time with COVID year. And so what she has done is just incredible. They're looking to be the favorite again, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to be the favorite hands down for the foreseeable future as long as she's here. She keeps reloading the cupboards and keeps stocking up, and it's amazing what she's doing. And they lost a tough one at Arizona, but she got the girls back in the gym and going to get right back at it and get back to work.
So looking at Mountain West Conference for men's basketball, I mean, we always have SDSU there, but there's a lot of good teams in this conference. My dad was even talking about it.
A lot of good coaches, too.
And a lot of great coaches.
Great coaches. Alfred, Leon Rice. You got Richard Bettino, Brian Dutcher at San Diego State, and Kevin Kruger. And then Nico Medved. This conference is loaded with great coaches.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one any given night in the Mountain West Conference. Obviously, we're still a ways away from getting to conference play. I think it tips off right after the holidays, right before New Year's. But I mean, San Diego State. They don't have the household names returning that they've had the last couple years. Obviously, the transfer portal, Lamont Butler going to Kentucky, but Leon Rice has steadily built a strong program at Boise State. They bring in Tyson Degenhart back, who's arguably the conference player of the year preseason. Obviously, what Coach Medved's done at Colorado State the last few years. Coach Alford. I mean, Kevin said this the other day. Yep. He's a Hall of Famer on the court and as a coach. And then the young Patino at New Mexico, obviously what he's done the last few years to get them back relevant. And if anybody's been to the Pit or knows college basketball, one of the hardest places to play, if not the hardest in the country. And when they've got that place going like they do right now, it's going to be tough for people to go in there and get wins.
Yeah, it's going to be a conference. Teams are going to beat themselves up in this. What do you think the key is for the Rebels?
We saw it last year, too. Yeah,
and that's the problem with the Mountain West, right? Yeah. I mean, they're trying to get 6 teams in the tournament, which is great and all. Everybody's trending that way, but the longer and deeper you get in that conference season, you just keep beating each other up. And that's what happened when they got to the NCAA tournament. But I think the outlook for the Rebels is going to be bright. Obviously, when you bring in Deon Thomas Jr., a local stud point guard. His dad played for Tark back in the glory days, knows how to run a team, great floor general. And I think Kevin's done obviously a good job in the portal the last 3 years, including this year, but not having to go as deep in the portal to rebuild a full team and bringing guys with length, athleticism, size, can guard multiple positions. Multiple guys can bring up the ball. And then talk about another local kid, Jalen Hill, originally from Clark High School, who went to Oklahoma and played for Lon there, is now back and is pretty much just a Swiss Army knife, can do it all, especially at his size and skill set. So I think the future's bright for the Rebels. Obviously, you got to stay healthy and you got to continue to grow from now and through conference.
So I was disappointed we only got the Boone brothers for just 1 year. Rob Whaley really evolved last year. And then now I'm hearing a lot about this Bear Cherry.
Right.
Are they going to step in that role, or what do you see?
Well, I don't think you can replace the Boone brothers, right? Obviously, just first of all, off the floor, just the personalities of those two. I mean, they're just great individuals. One's quiet, and Caleb. Keelan was loud, boisterous personality, but both really good ball players. And so best of luck to them moving forward. Wish we could have had them longer.
Yes.
But Rob Whaley, what he showed last year, obviously his high flying, his athleticism, just kind of that Charles Barkley kind of build, small, undersized, but strong and powerful. He's obviously trying to evolve his game and get better. But I think the unexpected one right now is Jeremiah Bear Cherry, who's leading number 2 in the country right now in field goal percentage. He's only missed 2 shots on the season, I think 23 of 25 or something like that. And just what he's doing right now in the paint, and so efficient, soft touch, underrated, underrespected athleticism, great feel around the basket, really good feet, good base. And so I think for Rebel fans to see that you can throw it inside and kind of throw back basketball, throw it inside, establish the inside on offense and defense, and then let your guards attack from the outside, opens things up. And I think it'll just make life easier on Deon Thomas for sure. You take more chances on defense because you got a rim protector too. Of course you do. Yeah. We got shot blockers. I mean, like when we played back in the day with Joel Anthony, right? 2-time Mountain West Conference Defensive Player of the Year, went on to win multiple championships with LeBron and the Heat. We were like, yeah, we can be selfish and greedy. We can climb up into guys and take chances. But if you beat us, that's okay, but you got to run to the big fella in the back.
Right.
And so to have that security blanket behind you obviously just makes life so much easier.
But DJ, man, watching him as a freshman, he played like a senior. I was so impressed with him, how the maturity of such a young kid to come into the college basketball scene. And I feel like now, after watching him last year, I feel like he's a senior now, but he's only played 1 year of college basketball.
It's remarkable. It doesn't even describe it. I mean, the fact that you got to mention, he reclassified. So last year, he should have been a senior in high school. This year should be his true freshman year.
Yeah.
And for him to lead the country in minutes played as a freshman last year, to be Mount West Conference co-freshman of the year, and to come back this year, be preseason all-conference, and just the way that he goes about his business, and he's quiet. He's not about the limelight, and especially with how things are with social media and NIL and the transfer portal, for him to stay here, stay home, really believe in Coach Kruger and what they're building here. And I mean, the sky's the limit for that kid, and he seems like he continues to get better, and nothing really phases him. And so for him, just the production of, if he can come down and has to score every time, he will, but he'll also come down and facilitate and get his teammates going. So, I mean, life's easier in any level of basketball if you have a point guard, especially college basketball, and good thing for the Rebels, they've got a stud in DJ Thomas.
He was never afraid of the moment, right? And having the ball in his hands in the most pressured times. Any more questions about Mountain West or college before we switch to NBA?
You brought up a great point about transfer portal, but I'm more interested in Neil, and I don't know if you can answer the question, if it's like a secret thing, but what do you think like the average salary is for a college basketball player now these days?
Probably more than a lot of us up here are getting right now. Unfortunately, just because we're not them. I don't know. And I think a lot of it is it's kind of the unknown, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of it's manufactured by the agents or the representatives going around and kind of shopping deals. But also, I mean, your worth is what you're worth, right? Is what somebody's willing to pay you and what you're going to accept for it. And so more power to those kids. But I think in this day and age with social media, I mean, they can monetize anything right now, whether it's video games or just Twitch and anything online. But now with them to be able to get paid for not for their skill set, but just for their name, image, and likeness, which they can slap on with different brands. But a lot. I mean, they said the former Utah State player, Great Osabor, who's now at Washington with Coach Sprinkle, they said that he got over $2 million, like 2.4. Right?
Changes people.
So a guy that was a Mountain West Player of the Year last year goes to, I mean, the old Pac-12, but now the Big Ten is getting $2.4 million, and arguably is the highest paid. So, I mean, you just kind of trickle down from there, but also your market and how successful the program is and how engaged the community is around you is just going to help those dollars rise. But yeah, I mean, more power to those kids. We were just a little bit before our time.
Yes, you
were. A little
bit
by a long margin.
Yeah. And it's not something that's new. I mean, money's been given to college players for a long, long time. I have a good friend, my age, he's older than me. I was an All-American kicker at Houston, and the joke at Houston was their star running back was going to take a pay cut to go to the NFL.
Right.
That's how much he was making that type of money in the 60s because that's what people did. You know, they paid players to come to their university because they wanted their university to be great. I went to school down in Miami, and Jim Kelly drove around in a $200,000 Mercedes as a senior at University of Miami. And I've talked to the NCAA before. Surprising that nothing ever happened to it, but I had agents telling me Oklahoma was going to get suspended. You go there, and it was a luxury car dealership at the football complex.
Right. It's crazy to me. I mean, but it's where evolution of sports and college sports and the business of it has really just shifted to. And I know I've talked to a couple former players and guys that recently made the transition from amateurs in college, which are pros, but to the professional ranks. And a lot of them say that there's no rush now to leave college.
Right.
Because some of them are making more money in college than they're going to make if they're on minimum contracts in the NBA as rookie guys or even going overseas. So for them to be able to rack in that money, stay at a comfortable place, continue to build their brand, I mean, it makes it a lot easier. The only fear or concern for coaches, I believe, is if you develop a guy and then they turn around and transfer and go to a bigger program that has just more resources. And unfortunately, that's happened to the Rebels a few times. But that's where if you can really kind of build that culture and get them to stay here and continue to win, you can kind of shift that.
I like it a lot because you're staying to get an education as well, and you can never take that education away from someone once you get it.
And like they say, the ball stops bouncing for all of us at some point, or the pom-pom stops shaking, or whatever the case may be. But Father Time is undefeated. We saw that with Tyson and Jake Paul the other night, but you've got to make sure you got that backup plan, and so get that education while you can.
So while we have you here, I do want to talk a little bit about NBA because we will start having you on, whether it's remote or here if you're in town. But I mean, we talked to you all last season, going to postseason, and especially with Matt Neverett and myself. But football's just crazy right now. We hardly even have any guests. But let's start with the Eastern Conference. How impressed are you with the Cleveland Cavaliers and what they've done this year? And now we did, of course, see the Celtics beat them yesterday. But I mean, come back in that third, fourth quarter there. So what do you think about the Cavs?
I mean, I think what Coach Atkinson has done, obviously just kind of goes to show what the kind of culture that Coach Bickerstaff had built with the Cavs already. And to return that entire core and for them to have the success in starting the season 15-0. At some point, they were bound to lose. Unfortunately for them, they had to see the Celtics right when they were playing really good, and the Celtics were kind of starting to get back to themselves. To play the defending champs, and the Celtics they're the Celtics, and they're not even at full strength right now. And they may have some of that championship hangover, still have that champagne taste still in their mouth. But I think those are the top two teams in the East right now. Obviously, I think the Knicks are struggling a little bit, not who they were last year, nor are the Pacers. But the season is still early. I mean, we're not even a full month into the season yet, so a long ways to go. But the Cavs look to play the part and look to be the real deal right now.
One more on that, because you brought up how you prefer a little bit more physical, and now it's just all about threes. And what we saw with the Celtics last year, I mean, that offense was like historical, right? And they had made so many threes throughout the season to get them. Is that sustainable? Or is it
I don't know. I mean, I just had this conversation with somebody last night while I was watching the game, and I mean, the Celtics last night go 22 of 41 from three, which is amazing, and that's how the game has changed, and trying to get up as many shot attempts so you can score more points. But you've got to be able to sustain that, and I think the thing for them is they have enough guys that shoot it at such a high percentage that they can sustain it, as opposed to having two or three guys.
That makes sense. So they step up for each other. But we did see that kind of with Cleveland, right? They had an off night, or a couple of them shooting-wise, and kind of put them in a hole there. But it'll be interesting.
My only thing with the Cavs is Donovan Mitchell having to shoulder the load to create offensively every night. Celtics have multiple guys that can create, even Peyton Pritchard coming off the bench. But when Donovan Mitchell has to have the ball in his hands the majority of the game, or Darius Garland, which is great, but you've only got two. Yeah. I mean, the Celtics got 4 or 5 guys that can do that.
They do.
Big difference in that, You know, we could talk NBA and college with you all day long. So many great questions, and I keep going through my head. I wanted to ask you, you know, we're a sports betting show.
Right.
Sports betting is now legal in almost 40 states around the country. And I think the players have always known, because like the betting line was in the newspaper. You see it even when you were a player. Right. It was in the RJ. You open it up, hey, we're favorite tonight. Does that come into effect in a player?
No.
No?
For us, it never did. No. And obviously you have the meetings, especially here with compliance, like don't go to the casinos. Well, actually just don't go to the sports books in the casinos, right? It obviously was taboo and frowned upon, but now with all these different entities getting involved with advertising, with the different sports betting companies out there, it's welcome now, but I think the players don't notice it. And that's why you see the remarks like Kevin Durant and everybody like, oh, sorry, I busted your parlay and things like that. Like, they don't think about that. They're out there trying to win games. So it's fun for everybody else. But I think in the moment, you could probably walk to a college team and ask the guys if they know the spread. Most of them might, just because here and it's just everywhere on TV on the ticker. But they don't think about it. I think because they're too focused on and just driven in and dialed into the game. But I know for us, we never thought about it. But you always know, especially at UNLV games, when you get close to the end of the game and they're like, oh, shoot it, don't shoot it. You can feel the tension. So you can definitely feel that and notice those things if you just are aware and read and pick up the RJ and read a newspaper.
I think there needs to be more and more education for the college kids. I mean, these guys are teenagers, early 20s. You're still so young in your life. Your brain isn't even completely developed yet at that point. And sports betting is, I don't know if you know it, but it's an industry where 99% of the bettors lose.
Oh, yeah.
And that's because of greed. And as an athlete, you know, I was an athlete, very competitive, and as a winner, you've won at a lot of things in your life. Yeah. So when you go to gambling, you automatically think you're going to win. but the odds are not in your favor to win. And so many people have lost so much money that I think there needs to be a lot of education on this for college athletes.
I think so as well.
I don't think there's enough.
No, not at all. And also, I think when you hear the stories of guys that get in trouble, or like the Arizona State situation years and years ago, I know there was a situation kind of when I was playing when one of the USD players got in trouble for maybe kind of fixing a game or point shaving. So those things happen. But I think if you educate the players and prepare them for what's going on, especially now with people sliding into their DMs and sending them direct messages and trying to add them and trying to get them to swear, just acknowledge it. But there's also a lot of fear can be developed from that, from some of these guys, especially because they're already making money. And now if somebody's trying to come at them with more money, it's obviously a money driven, like you mentioned, greed. But it's a situation where you've got to make sure these kids are educated, because you don't want someone to drink the Kool-Aid or to slip up to that. But like you mentioned, especially in this city, this city wasn't built on winners. So clearly there's a lot of losers out there.
I wanted to be playing on a level playing field. I don't want the kids to get in trouble either, because I was involved with the Toledo point shaving scandal. And my first question to the FBI agent was, who's going to get in trouble?
Right.
The kid or this 60-year-old grocery store owner that was manipulated the entire thing?
Right.
The sad story is the kid.
It always is, yeah.
Because he did it on the court or on the football field, and that was a shame to me. The laws have changed a little bit now, where that guy that is manipulating what's happening there does get in much, much more trouble than they did early back in the 1990s, 1980s, and when you saw those fixes, those people didn't get as much trouble as the players did.
Right. If you look at the NBA with Jonte Porter, with him getting in trouble with the Raptors. Those types of situations. I know the NBA went and said that, I believe, and you guys probably know better, but there's now not allowed to accept prop bets on guys on two-way contracts to try to clean some of that up. I know they mentioned that. So guys that spend time in that G League and come back and swing back and forth, so that way they can't manipulate, because they're clearly more susceptible to try to take the money in those situations. But you hear like Jonte's going to face some repercussions for that, but also are those people moving up that line that we're really trying to orchestrate that whole ordeal.
I think you guys both bring up great points, and kind of bringing it full circle with you talking about educating the younger kids, and you talking about it kind of being fun and players knowing, they definitely need to be educated about everything. I think about LeBron, who pointed at somebody who was yelling for him to get that last rebound. Like, he made it fun, and and they even asked him about it at the end of the game, and he was like, yeah, he was yelling one more rebound. So then once I finally got it, I just gave him a little point.
Right.
But when younger kids see that, they aren't at that level or know that understanding of what that actually means. So, yeah, how do we get there?
I saw one night at the Orleans. Richmond was playing North Carolina at the Orleans, and it was all powder blue in the stands. It was North Carolina fans, and the point spread on the game was 16.5. And North Carolina was up 17. Richmond got the rebound with 30 seconds left, and the coach called timeout. Like, what's he doing?
Oh, boy.
I know.
He ran a play. They ran a beautiful play. They ran the clock down, and they ran a play, and the guy went up for a layup, and he missed it. And the crowd went crazy, and a meaningless play at the end of the game. But the coach for Richmond, I think it was Jerry Wainwright, he knew what the point spread was, and he said, we're going to lose, but everybody here is going to lose their money. And he ran a play to try to make everybody's night a little bit miserable because they lost their money.
I get it. You got to kind of have some fun with it from that standpoint. Those situations are tough. It is what it is now. Like you said, but if you educate these kids, and now I think when you talk about the NIL, with them being able to be paid, they're not going to be as susceptible to maybe fall into some of these webs and get caught up in it. So I think that helps clean it up a little bit. But at the end of the day, there's still going to be those people out there that are greedy, that are going to try to find that edge or that in to try to manipulate it. And hopefully they aren't able to, and they don't just disrespect the game or the culture anymore.
What's TBT mean to you? You know what that is?
The basketball tournament?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you played in it?
No, I have not.
Have you followed it?
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
It is.
I love watching those games.
Yeah, I think UNLV had a team, I believe, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think, if we can get in touch with the right people and try to get that back, because I think we have a lot of guys that kind of fit that mold of kind of fringe NBA guys that play overseas. And so I think we get a lot of alumni to come back and try to make a true run for it. The one thing I don't like about it is that you have guys that play for teams that didn't go to school there.
Yeah.
But that's just being nitpicky. So if it was truly like true alumni teams, I think that'd be awesome. But hopefully the Runner Rebels can get a team back. And I think it'd be awesome if you could host games here in Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with Summer League and everything that you have going on. Obviously, everybody comes to Vegas, and it has a big crowd for basketball with AU tournaments, Summer League, and the Running Rebels, and the NBA Cup as well.
Yeah, I talked to Tom Hughes about it, 4 or 5 years ago. I talked about it with, to get, Robert Smith back involved with the team some way, somehow. I know Robert's had some health problems, and but there's so many stars we've had come out of here. Running Rebel, TBT team. Now, I get what you're saying, that a lot of the teams, they're not true alumni teams. Majority, I'd say 60 to 70% of the players are.
Sure.
There are some teams that have no alumni.
Right.
They just put a team together and get in it.
Yeah, like Overseas Elite, I think, is the name of that team. I think they've won it a couple of times, but I mean, and I get it. But again, for those kind of guys that are making money overseas and come and have a shot at their share of $1 million, sign me up. I mean, if we can get a team commit, I mean, I'll spend the next 9-10 months trying to get in shape, and we can go for it this summer. If I get enough of the boys to do it, I'll commit to doing it.
Let's try to make it happen.
You brought up that tournament. I wanted to ask both of you if there was any college basketball tournaments that you're looking forward to that you follow before we get into conference play.
I mean, obviously Maui's a big one,
yeah.
But I think the one that everybody's looking at right now is the Players Era. The one that's going to start next week at MGM Grand, in terms of where each team is guaranteed $1 million just to play, and then I think you get $1 million if you win it. And so for a lot of the programs to be able to fund your NIL program with one tournament, I mean, that's huge. Like San Diego State's in it. Unfortunately this year, I'm still going to cheer for the Rebels, but San Diego State's in it. They're guaranteed $1 million. Oregon's in it, and clearly Oregon doesn't need it with the backing of Phil Knight, but they're guaranteed $1 million. And so for these teams to be able to have that, that's huge in terms of them being able to recruit and go out and get the players and build their teams. And so I think if this thing is successful with the first 8, and they're talking about expanding it in the future years to 8 or to 16 teams, I mean, that's going to become the marquee tournament. As much as fun as Maui is, I mean, kids get to go to Vegas, kids are already getting paid, and then your program gets to collect $1 million, and then you're playing for another $1 million. I mean, I don't know how eyes are going to be anywhere else, but that right before Thanksgiving.
I wonder if that has to go into your handicap with Oregon maybe not being as focused, don't need the money as much.
That could be, but still there's that prize.
These are kids. You're talking about you saw last year the NBA guys and LeBron, like we're gonna win the money for the younger guys. Think about college kids; they're maybe getting some money, but if we're playing for $1 million,
right?
Like I'm getting goosebumps thinking about having a chance to play for $1 million.
Yeah, I love the motivation factor of that, and I've always loved the Maui tournament because I like when there's 8 teams and you play 3 games and get to a championship game. That's what's so much fun for me to watch.
So what else are you up to these days besides Running Rebels and your podcast?
That's pretty much it these days, especially during the basketball season. I mean, obviously it gets super busy. We travel a lot. We're heading to Creighton here in 2 weeks, I think. We got a big game at Creighton. It's going to be a tough one on the road. We saw what Kalkbrenner did a couple weeks ago and putting up 49 points and tons of buckets. And so, that's what the time of year it is right now, just heavy college basketball. And just trying to help and give back any way I can. So I appreciate you guys having me out, though. Yeah, and that's where you can find him right there on X and his podcast on Commentary. Yeah, we appreciate you. That was a lot of fun. Any last words for you?
We'll try to get our plays out there, though.
We will try and get our plays out there. We did not get our 3 on our board, so we're going to have to tweet them out, our 3 plays for the day. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. CT, again, thank you. Have a good game tonight against Pepperdine for the UNLV Rebels. Thank you, everybody behind the glass. Back here again tomorrow for Sports by the Book at 9 a.m. with Jeff Parles. He'll be back on Friday. For Kenny White, I'm Alex White. I'll see you again on Saturday.